The transport bay doors hissed open, and Captain Zara Chen stepped onto the obsidian platform with her hands in her pockets, a posture that made every Crithian guard within sight flinch. Behind her, something small and gray darted between her legs, sat down, and began washing its face with one paw. "Is that creature classified as a weapon?" High Commander Velrax demanded, her four eyes narrowing at the cat. Her scales rippled through shades of threatening crimson. Zara shrugged. "Mr.
Whiskers?"
He's emotional support. "This is the Triennial Deathworld Summit." Velrax's voice dropped to a dangerous frequency that could shatter lesser species' eardrums. "You were instructed to bring no biological assets." "That's one biological asset already." Zara crouched down as Mr. Whiskers headbutted her shin. "Two won't kill you." A Crithian guard reached for his plasma lance. Velrax raised one clawed hand, freezing him mid-motion. The 30 other species representatives in the Grand Chamber had gone silent, their various forms of breathing, clicking, and humming reduced to nothing. The summit chamber stretched upward into darkness, its walls lined with viewing galleries where hundreds of delegates watched. Queen Zarethva herself emerged from the shadows of her throne platform, descending on 6 legs with the precision of a predator. Her species had conquered 40 star systems. Her personal kill count exceeded 10,000. When she spoke, entire fleets changed course. "The human sends insult wrapped in fur and irreverence," the Queen said, her translator crackling with barely contained fury. "Remove the creature or be removed yourself." Whiskers yawned, showing tiny fangs. Zara straightened. "With respect, Your Majesty, I scanned the summit regulations 17 times. No rule prohibits companion animals. Section 14, paragraph 9 specifically allows attendees to bring items necessary for psychological stability during high-stress negotiations." That, Velrax pointed at Mr. Piem. "Whiskers is not an item." "Neither am I, but you invited me anyway." Zara smiled, but her eyes stayed flat and cold. "Shall we begin discussing the Borderland Accords, or would you prefer to argue about my cat for the next 6 hours?" "I'm comfortable either way." Queen Zarethva moved faster than something her size should. She crossed the 20 meters between them in 3 heartbeats, stopping close enough that Zara could smell the sulfur on her breath. The Queen stood 3 times her height. Her shadow swallowed Zara completely. "Mr. Easy," Whiskers hissed. Every weapon in the room powered up simultaneously. Energy fields shimmered into existence. The temperature dropped 5 degrees as various species activated their combat adaptations. Zara didn't move, didn't reach for the pistol everyone knew she carried. Didn't even blink. "Your creature threatened the Queen of Crithian," Velrax said quietly. "That is a capital offense under 17 separate treaty articles." "He's a cat." Zara bent down and scooped Mr. Whiskers into her arms. He settled against her chest, purring loud enough to echo in the sudden silence. "He hisses when he's startled."
"Your queen moved aggressively," he reacted.
"No harm intended, no harm done." "Intention is irrelevant," Queen Zarethva said. "The act alone demands blood. Then take mine." Zara held the Queen's gaze. "But the cat stays. Non-negotiable." The Queen's head tilted, studying this small human who showed no fear in a room designed to terrify. "You would die for this animal?" "I've died for worse reasons." "Got better." Zara scratched behind Mr. Whiskers' ears. "But let's be honest, Your Majesty. You didn't bring humanity to this summit because you like us. You brought us because 63% of Deathworlds in contested space have human colonies, and we're the only species stubborn enough to mine quantum crystals in gravitational shear zones. You meet us. So let's skip the posturing and talk about what really matters." Silence stretched. The Queen's scales shifted from crimson to deep purple, the color of consideration. Finally, she stepped back. "The human may retain her creature," Queen Zarethva announced, "but any further disruption will result in immediate termination of Earth Summit privileges." Velrax's scales flashed angry orange, but she bowed. "As you command, my queen." The other delegates began settling into their positions, some relieved, others disappointed at the lack of violence. Zara moved toward the human delegation's assigned platform, Mr. Whiskers still purring in her arms. Then the child appeared. She came from nowhere, impossibly fast, her small Crithian form darting between the guard's legs before anyone could react. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old in human terms, her scales still soft and pale. She stopped directly in front of Zara, staring up at Mr. Whiskers with all 4 eyes wide.
What is it?
The child whispered in perfect standard, every weapon trained on Zara again. But this time, they were shaking, because the child was Princess Cytherea, Queen Zaratha's only heir, who was supposed to be in the protected royal quarters 3 miles underground. Zara looked at Mr. Whiskers, then at the child, then at the 50 different ways she was about to die. She smiled. Want to pet him? Zara knelt slowly, deliberately, while chaos erupted around her. Guards rushed forward, delegates scattered, alarms shrieked. But she kept her eyes on the child, on those 4 wide eyes full of wonder and curiosity that transcended species barriers. Mr. Whiskers, completely unbothered by the apocalypse occurring around him, leaned forward and touched his nose to the princess's outstretched claw. The child giggled. The sound cut through the chaos like a blade through vacuum. Every alarm went silent. Every guard froze mid-step. Even Queen Zirath stopped, her killing strike held back by the sheer impossibility of what she was hearing. Princess Cytherea hadn't laughed in 3 years, not since the plague that killed half the royal bloodline. Every specialist in the Empire had tried to reach her, to bring back the joy that had once defined her. Every medicine, every therapy, every neural recalibration had failed. "He's soft," Cytherea said, her claws gentle against Mr. Whiskers' fur. "Why is he soft?" Zara's voice stayed steady despite the plasma rifles aimed at her skull. "Evolution." His ancestors needed to stay warm and move silently. Fur solved both problems. "Is he dangerous?" "Only to mice and my couch cushions?" The child's laugh came again, lighter this time, almost musical. Her scales rippled through colors Zara didn't recognize, patterns that made several Crithian guards gasp. Queen Zarath moved, and this time Zara knew she was dead. The queen's claws could slice through starship hull plating. Her speed exceeded anything Zara could dodge. The only question was whether Zara would feel it before her head hit the floor. But the queen didn't strike. She knelt beside her daughter, her massive form somehow gentle as she placed one claw on Cytherea's shoulder. "Child," the queen said softly, "you know the rules." "But Mama, look at him." Cytherea's voice held pure wonder. "He's making a sound, a happy sound. Can we keep him?" Harry being in the chamber held their breath. Some species didn't need to breathe, but they stopped their circulatory systems anyway. Zara did the math. If she said no, she insulted the princess. If she said yes, she gave away Earth's primary leverage. If she stayed silent, she showed weakness. Every option led to disaster, so she changed the game entirely. "Your Highness," Zara said to Cytherea, not the queen. "Mr. Whiskers isn't mine to give. He's his own person. If he wants to stay with you, that's his choice. But cats are particular about their humans. They choose us, not the other way around." Whiskers, hope and uncertainty warring in her young face. "How do I know if he chooses me?" "Put him down," Zara said. "Step back. See what he does." The queen's eyes fixed on Zara with the intensity of a targeting computer, but she didn't interfere. Cytherea gently placed Mr. Whiskers on the obsidian floor and took 3 careful steps backward. Mr. Whiskers sat down. He looked at Zara, then at Cytherea. Then he started grooming his tail with focused determination, as if the fate of interstellar diplomacy wasn't balanced on his furry shoulders. 20 seconds passed. 30. Delegates shifted uncomfortably. This was the most critical negotiation in 300 years, and everyone was watching a cat lick its own ass. Then Mr. Whiskers stood, stretched, and walked to Cytherea. He wound around her legs twice, purring so loud it echoed off the walls, and sat down at her feet. The princess's scales exploded into brilliant gold, a color Crithians only showed during moments of pure transcendent joy. Queen Zarathva's translator failed to process the sound she made. It came out as static and feedback, but Zara heard the emotion underneath.
"Recognition."
And something that might have been respect. "Captain Chen," the queen said formally, "it seems we have much to discuss. But first, perhaps you could explain to my daughter how to properly care for a cat. I suspect this information will prove essential to tonight's negotiations. Tonight's negotiations, not the summit. Whatever was about to happen, it would happen in private, away from the delegates and their competing agendas. She'd either just made humanity's fortune or signed its death warrant." Whiskers purred louder, utterly confident that he'd made the right choice. 6 hours later, Zara stood in a private chamber deep in the palace's restricted zone, watching Mr. Whiskers teach Princess Cytherea the ancient feline art of knocking things off tables. The child's laughter had become constant, a sound that made the Royal Guard's scales shift to protective patterns Zara hadn't seen before. Queen Zarethva sat across from Zara at a table made from the skull of something Zara really hoped was extinct. Between them lay a holographic display showing quantum crystal mining operations across 40 systems. "My intelligence services said humans were mad," the Queen said. "They didn't mention you were strategic in your madness." "We're adaptable," Zara replied. "Comes from being the galaxy's favorite underdogs." "You knew." The Queen's voice held no accusation, just statement. "You researched Catheria before coming here. You knew she was ill. You brought the cat deliberately." Zara didn't confirm or deny. She simply watched Mr. Whiskers, who was now demonstrating the crucial skill of fitting into boxes that were obviously too small. "My daughter hasn't smiled in 3 years," the Queen continued. "Every doctor, every priest, every specialist said her condition was permanent, neural damage from the grief plague. Irreversible." She paused. "Your creature accomplished in minutes what our empire's finest minds couldn't achieve in years." "Cats are good at breaking rules," Zara said. "They don't care about impossible." The Queen's claws traced patterns on the skull table. "You're aware that by Crithian law I could simply take the cat, declare it forfeit under diplomatic seizure protocols." "You could try." Zara's tone stayed conversational. "But Mr. Whiskers doesn't acknowledge your authority or anyone else's. He'd probably piss in your throne and sleep on your war plans out of spite." For the first time since the summit began, Queen Zarethva laughed. It was a terrifying sound, like continents grinding together, but it was genuine. "I'm offering you a deal, Captain Chen. One that doesn't appear in any official summit documentation." The Queen gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show something else. Fleet movements. Troop deployments. Classified intelligence that shouldn't exist outside the Crithian military's highest levels. Zara's stomach dropped as she understood what she was seeing. "That's the Vrexian Combine's pre-invasion staging. They're going to hit the borderlands in less than a month." 17 days, the Queen corrected. "My fleets are positioned to counterstrike, but the Combine has allies we haven't identified. The battle will determine control of 60% of Deathworld resources in this sector, including Earth's colonies." The hologram shifted again, showing Earth, showing the small blue world that humanity had spread from, the planet that still held 40% of the species' population. "The Combine has 12 Nova-class planet crackers," the Queen said quietly. "Earth is on their target list. Third priority, after the Crithian homeworld and the Sentinel Gate." Zara's hands clenched under the table. "What do you want?" "Your cat stays with my daughter." "Not as a hostage. As a gift freely given. In exchange, I'm offering you something no human has ever possessed." The Queen's eyes fixed on Zara with the weight of empires. Truth. The hologram dissolved, replaced by a single symbol Zara had never seen before. It pulsed with faint light, impossibly complex. "That is the coordination cipher for the Crithian First Fleet," Queen Zarethva said. "Real-time tactical data. Fleet positions, supply lines, strategic objectives. Everything humanity needs to know to survive what's coming." "Why?" Zara's voice came out rough. "Why give us this?" "We're nothing to you. A curiosity. We have, 40 ships that could threaten your smallest battle group? Because my daughter is laughing again, and I've learned not to question miracles. Because your species has survived on Deathworlds for 12,000 years through adaptation and stubborn refusal to die, and I respect that. Because," the Queen paused, and something in her expression shifted. "Because Catheria asked me to help the cat's human, and I haven't been able to refuse her anything since she started speaking again." Whiskers had curled up in Catheria's arms. The princess was humming something in a language Zara didn't recognize, ancient and beautiful. The guards watched with expressions that mixed shock and reverence. "If I say yes," Zara said slowly, "I'm making Earth dependent on Crithian intelligence. We become your assets." "You become my allies," the Queen corrected. "There's a difference. Assets get used and discarded. Allies get protected, sometimes even honored." "About the billions who had no idea they were 17 days from extinction. About the human colonies scattered across Deathworlds so hostile that other species had declared them uninhabitable. About her own daughter, safe in a lunar base, who'd asked Zara to bring Mr. Whiskers because maybe the scary aliens need to see something cute." "I need guarantees," Zara said. Name them. Earth's sovereignty remains absolute. We make our own choices. No Crithian bases on human worlds. No forced conscription. No genetic programs. We fight as equals or we don't fight at all. Queen Zarethva's scales shifted to a blue Zara hadn't seen before.
Agreed.
What else? Mr. Whiskers gets the best care your empire can provide. Premium food. Regular vet checks from someone who understands Earth biology. And Kethria learns to respect his boundaries. Cats aren't toys. My daughter will learn responsibility. The Queen's tone turned dry. Another skill she's avoided for 3 years. Anything else? Zara looked at the princess again, at the way Kethria held Mr. Whiskers, gentle and careful, like something precious. At the guards who'd stopped seeing an alien as a threat and started seeing a child who was healing. One more thing, Zara said. When this is over, when the war's won or lost, I want a picture of Mr. Whiskers sitting on your throne, framed, signed by both of you. Then that grinding continent's laugh came again, louder this time. You're serious? Completely? It's for my daughter. She'll never believe me otherwise. Queen Zarethva extended one massive claw. Zara took it carefully, feeling the strength that could crush her hand without effort, held in perfect check. Done, the Queen said, though I suspect your cat will claim the throne without permission long before we arrange a formal photograph. She was right. By the next morning, Mr. Whiskers had already slept on the throne twice, knocked over a priceless artifact, and somehow convinced half the royal guard that he was actually in charge. 17 days later, when the Vrexian Combine launched their invasion, they found a united front they hadn't anticipated. Crithian fleets and human raiders working in perfect coordination. Deathworld colonists who knew how to fight in conditions that killed other species. Tactics that combined Crithian discipline with human improvisation. The battle lasted 6 weeks. The Combine lost. 3 months after that, Zara returned to the Crithian homeworld for the formal treaty signing. She found Princess Kethria completely transformed, confident and joyful, with Mr. Whiskers permanently attached to her shoulder like the galaxy's least dignified guardian. The picture the Queen promised sat waiting in Zara's quarters. It showed Mr. Whiskers sprawled across the throne with the boneless confidence only cats possess, while Queen Zarethva and Princess Kethria stood on either side. The inscription read, "To Captain Chen, who taught an empire that sometimes the smallest creatures carry the largest wisdom. With respect and gratitude." Zara sent it to her daughter with a single message. "Told you Mr. Whiskers was a diplomat." Years later, when historians studied the Borderland War and its aftermath, they focused on fleet movements and strategic decisions. They analyzed the unprecedented Crithian-human alliance and its impact on galactic politics. But those who really understood pointed to a different moment. To a small gray cat who'd walked across a throne room floor and chose a child who needed him. To a human who'd gambled everything on the idea that kindness could be strategic. To a queen who'd learned that some gifts were worth more than conquest. The formal name for the treaty was the Borderland Accords, but everyone who'd been there called it something else, the Whiskers Agreement. And in the halls of power across 100 worlds, when delegates tried to understand how humanity had punched so far above their weight, how they'd turned potential enemies into steadfast allies, the answer was always the same. They'd brought a cat to a Deathworld summit and changed everything.